Rain poured over the dark city while black car moved silently through the empty streets. Inside one of them, Jungkook sat in the back seat, wearing a black suit, his tattooed fingers tapping slowly against the leather seat while talking on the phone. His cold eyes looked outside the window. Find him before morning, Jungkook said in a I don't get how. The man on the other side quickly answered, Yes, boss. Jungkook entered the call and leaned back with an annoyed sigh. Another long night, another betrayal, another problem to clean. She's, but suddenly his eyes stopped on someone outside a girl. She was walking in the rain without an umbrella, jumping over puddles like littles. Her soft laughter was even through the closed window. Jungkook frowned slightly. Who laughed like that at midnight? The girl stretched her arms dramatically under the rain before spinning once on the empty road. Her oversized hoodie almost covered her completely. The driver glanced at the mirror nervously. Sir, was the girl suddenly bent down near the roadside and carefully picked up a tiny kitten holding under a hiding under a broken box. Oh no, she whispered softly to the trembling kitten. You are freezing. She removed her own scarf and wrapped the kitten carefully before smiling proudly. Jungkook stared quick in his dark world filled with fear and she looked unreal. The driver spoke again carefully. Should I drive? Before Jungkook could answer, a speeding bike lost control on the road and rushed straight toward the girl. His eyes widened. Everything happened fast. Jungkook instantly opened the car door and stepped out into the rain. Boss, the driver shouted in shock. Jungkook gripped the girl's arm harshly and pulled her against his just before the bike speed past them. The girl gasped loudly. The kitten moved between her arms. Rain dripped down Jungkook's sharp faces and looked down at her with eyes. Are you stupid? He groaned. You want to? The girl blinked up at him in shock. For a second she forgot to. He was cold, covered in tatters sticking from his collar. His black hair from the rain made him look even more, but strangely his arm around her felt. I'm sorry, she whispered. Cook looked at her for a long moment. Then his eyes slowly moved toward the kitten wrapped in her scarf. He stopped for a cat. The girl looked down at the kitten and nodded innocently. He looked lonely. Jungkook inside Jungkook's feelings were that lonely. He suddenly released her and stepped back. Go home safe, he said coldly before turning away. But before he entered the car, wait, Jungkook looked. The girl hurried toward him and held out something in her small hand. A candy. Jungkook looked at it silently. You saved me, she said with a shy smile. Thank you. The driver almost choked in shock. Nobody offered candy to Jungkook. People feared him, people ran from him, but this girl smiled at him like he was a normal. Jungkook slowly took the candy from her hand. Please, asked her face, what's your name? One. He repeated quietly in his voice, One. Jungkook smiled faintly. The next morning, Jian called us in. He stood tall in the middle of a sea like a king watching over the city. Inside the top floor office, silence filled the room. Jungkook sat on his chair while slowly spinning the candy between his fingers. The same candy. His eyes stayed calm, but his mind kept replaying the girl dancing in the rain. When a knock came on the door. Come in. Mark walked inside with her, hand in his hand. His expression looked nervous. You asked for information about the girl, boss. Jungkook stretched his Jungkook opened it calmly, but the more he read, the more his expression slowly changed. Then wine, age 23, part-time worker at the bookstore. Mark nodded carefully. Her parents when she was young. Since then she's been living alone and doing multiple jobs. Jungkook continued reading. The file mentioned how an often feeds racket around her neighborhood. only to get children shelter on a weekend and even paid hospital bills for an old. Mark spoke again, confused himself. Boss, she is staying with him. Jungkook looked up. Mark cleared his head. I mean, usually when someone gets your attention, there is always a hidden reason behind money, connection, something. But here, Mark shook his head slowly. Jungkook closed the file. His sharp eyes moved toward the large glass window. Good that word didn't in his world. His world was people. Suddenly his phone rang. Jungkook frowned coldly. What? One of his men spoke urgently from the other side. Boss, we found the chairman Lee's location. Jungkook's expression instantly bring the carrier. Yes, boy. The call ended. Mark carefully took the file back. Just Jungkook stopped again, leaning. Mark blinked before putting it back on the desk. After his fingers stopped on one small smiling photo against the corner. A soft, innocent smile, completely opposite to him. Jungkook stared at it for a long moment before muttering quietly, "You should stay away from me, man." But he already knew he would not let her go. Van stood near the hallway holding a grocery bag while watching workers carry expensive furniture inside the apartment next to hers. She blinked in surprise. Nobody lived there for years. One worker almost dropped a large painting of seeing a black luxury car. The entire apartment floor looked chaotic. Then man noticed a familiar standing near the doorway with his hand inside his pocket. Black shirt, broad shoulder, cold face. It was him, the man from last night. His widened like before she walked very high. She said softly. Jungkook turned his head for a second. He was soft and high. His voice sounded calm and strangely polite. One looked behind him at the money boxes. "You are shifting here." Jungkook nodded once, yes. A small awkward silence came between them. One smiled and kept silent. Jungkook looked at her quietly. He was not supposed to be here. A boss like him should never live in a small apartment building. But after being because for the first time in years, Jungkook wanted something that was not power, money, or he wanted her attention, her smile, her softness. And Jungkook always got what he wanted. Oh wait, she quickly put her grocery bag and helped him hold the other side. The worker looked. "No, miss, it's okay. It's fine." One smiling. Jungkook was silent. He was help. After placing the box down, Wan rested her hands proudly there. Jungkook immediately stepped because he uses help stranger too easily. Wan looked up at him innocently. Is that bad? People who innocence without guilt. But Wan just laughed softly. Then you must be a bad stranger too. Jungkook eyes slightly, if only she knew, but none of his men suddenly approached Kate. Wan looked confused for a second. Jungkook calmly interrupted inside. The man nodded quickly and left. Wan tilted her head. Was Jungkook stayed silent for a half second before replying slowly. "I have on some business." Oh, Wan nodded easily. Suddenly, Wan remembered something and hurried inside her apartment. Jungkook watched her leave before slowly following with his eyes. A minute later, she returned holding a small plate. "Cookies, I baked too many yesterday." She smiled. "Sorry, you can have some." Jungkook stared at the cookies. Nobody had ever welcomed him like this before, not without fear, not without wanting something in return. He slowly took the plate from her hands. "Thank you." One smiled back. "Welcome, neighbor." Neighbor, the one wanted to start neighbor. Strangely, Jungkook yes. And at that moment he decided he would make one fall in with him, even if it meant stepping into the night himself. One month later, the small apartment building slowly became for Jungkook. For the first time in years, he started coming home early just because of one person man. Every morning she greeted him while holding a coffee. Every evening she knocked on his door to complain about her broken toaster or ask him to open a tag the jar leads. When Jungkook, the fear boss of Seoul, started waiting for those little moments. Meanwhile, Van still didn't know anything about his real identity. To her, he was a simple Jungkook, the handsome, quiet neighbor who sometimes looked scary but secretly like banana and always inside Van's apartment. The delicious smell of food filled the kitchen. Nan carefully tasted the soup before nodding proudly. Perfect. She arranged everything nicely on the table before sitting down, but then she suddenly remembered something.